and I didn't put the handbrake on, so that car is moving. Hello one and all, welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Welcome to my first press drive of 2020. I mean, it's June and I'm welcoming you to my first press drive of the year. What happened? Well, I know what happened, hashtag COVID. But anyway, let's move on because that is the all-new Morgan Plus 4. Now, those of you that aren't that familiar with Morgan, you might be going, Sam, what are you talking about? You've lost your mind during lockdown. That's not a new car, that's like a 70-year-old car. Well, you're not entirely wrong because Morgan have been making the Plus 4 for 70 years, but for the first time, they've released an entirely new version. In fact, this is so new that just 3% of its components have been carried over from the previous Plus 4. We have got a lot to discuss, a lot to experience on this beautifully perfect sunny day. But before we do that, can we just say, how good does this thing look in green? British racing green. It's as if the press team knew I was coming. Now, the big news here, apart from the new power plant, which we'll come back to, is the fact that this car now has the same bonded aluminium CX platform chassis that its bigger brother, the new Plus 6, has. It's a big step forward from the old steel frame chassis that it used to have. I mean, that was nice, I suppose, if you like quite a floaty ride, but it needed to be moved forward. 70 years on, it was time for an update, and fingers crossed, it's going to kind of transform the driving characteristics of this car. We're about to find that out. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that with that CX platform, we now get a much nicer cabin. More spacious, more functional, beautiful dials, digital screens, and a very inviting start button. So I reckon we power this thing up, hit the road, and see what the all-new Plus 4 has to offer. If you have never driven a Morgan before, it's hilarious. It's genuinely such a unique but pure driving experience. In fact, it takes me back to a better time. A time pre-COVID, but a time pre-900 horsepower supercars. Who needs 900 horsepower supercars? Driving can be so much more than 0 to 60 times. However, the 0 to 60 time in this new Plus 4 is pretty impressive because it's sub 5 seconds in the automatic, because yes, there is an automatic version. In the manual it's just over 5 seconds, but either way, that is quick. And we get there using BMW's 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. In fact, the same engine that was in the Clubman JCW, which I borrowed from Mini UK for 6 months. So it's an engine I'm very familiar with, but this is a slightly tuned down version from the Clubman. We're at 255 horsepower instead of the 306. But I have to say, when you're out here in this car on roads like this, you definitely don't feel like you need any more power. It feels like a bit of a handful, like honestly, because you're so exposed to the elements. Of course, yes, there is a canvas roof I could put up, but you should never drive a Morgan with the roof up, in my opinion. There's no windows, there's this little tiny windscreen. Visibility is great because I can see everything. I just look around. There we go. I can see everything. Parking this car is the easiest thing in the world. I mean, honestly. But yeah, it's just there's a little gargle from the exhaust. It's just such an all-encompassing experience, and therefore you feel really tuned in. You can also enjoy your environment a lot more. I'm up in the hills just above the Morgan factory, and I'm looking around, I'm smelling things, smelling the car when I do a sort of unexpected burnout, and hearing that turbocharger. Like honestly, don't know if you can hear it. There you go. This is kind of Morgan's entry-level sports car, and if you think about it, in the world now, any kind of entry-level sports car has a turbocharged engine. In fact, most supercars have turbocharged engines. It's just the way the world's going. It does remove slightly from the driving experience. For me, I'd kind of like a V6 rumble, even a V8 raw, but that's not what the Plus 4's all about, I get it, and because of all the sort of regulations, they've had to slightly dull down the sound, but you know, nothing that a spicy exhaust couldn't fix, I'm sure. But let's get into it, because from this very short experience I've just had right now, the driving characteristics are night and day from my previous Morgan experiences. As I kind of touched on in the car park, I used to drive these cars and they were kind of floaty. You would turn in, you'd let the body kind of roll around and figure out what it was doing. This now is a proper sports car. I mean, it's a proper sports car. Whilst I'm still sitting right at the back and kind of guiding the front in and then following it around, I'm so much more confident to push on. I remember when I borrowed that V6, I was always like, it's a wafter, it's a cruiser, it's about going, hello boys and girls, how are you all? Are you coming round for tea and cake later? Whilst now I'm like, I could be a Bond villain. Maybe a junior Bond villain, because maybe the real Bond villain would have a +6, but anyway, you know, I'm out here really driving. I'm just driving. And that's the thing. I was asked recently, what did I think the future was for car companies like Morgan, you know? Couldn't they still survive in a world where we're heading towards autonomy and also competing against RS3s with double the horsepower? And I said yes, because so few manufacturers now offer this. Oh my God, here we go. Whoa. It is so unique. Oh my God, it takes a while to figure out. There is no other car in the world that drives like a Morgan. And that's rewarding. You've got to think. You can't just, you know, point and squirt like you can in an RS3 or even the Clubman JCW, or let's go sportier, a Toyota Supra. Those things are easy to drive. Anyone can get in and go quick. Whilst this, you've got to be alert, and therefore it's rewarding. And then when you want to, you can sit back and you can go, oh, look at the English countryside. This car reminds me why I love England. And I haven't loved England for a while because of COVID. It's kind of annoyed me, everything about it. Ooh, am I going to make it around here? There you go, great visibility, not a problem. And then this thing spins its wheels very quickly. And let's just talk about the wheels for a second, because what I love about Morgan is that whilst they were desperate to push this car forward into the 21st century, it had to remain iconically Morgan. And of course, to most people, this will look exactly the same as the previous version. It's only real nerds like me and Morgan fanboys that notice the new headlights and the slightly different grille and the Sibby LEDs. Hello, Drive the World fans. Of course, those are the same Sibbies that I have on my 911. And yes, I've already mentioned the cabin. But the wheels, let's just take the wheels, because why are wheels just an iconic part of Morgans? You see them and you're like, that's a Morgan. And when this car was in development, they wanted to put newer, more modern, bigger brakes, and of course the new suspension. And the team were like, no way, we can't do wire wheels, it's just impossible. But they worked so hard, they slaved away to basically be the only company in the world that can do a dished wire wheel with modern brakes and suspension, because that's how important it was to kind of Morgan's identity. That's just brilliant. Whilst companies out there are slaving away on carbon fibre wheels, Morgan were like, no, we need wire ones. Go on, Morgan. And look at this, I'm going to go for an overtake here. Two lads out in their convertibles. Oi, oi, hey. I love it. I truly love it. So it seems like once again I have fallen in love with that Morgan experience, but as I mentioned, I think probably the new +6 is a bit more me than the +4. This is a great car, and that is a fantastic engine, a really fantastic engine. Just personally, I want a bit more grunt, a bit more meatiness from my Morgan. Does that make sense? One thing I haven't really mentioned yet, which I've kind of been trying to avoid because I see it as a bit of a negative, is unfortunately the price of this car. Because Morgan have done so much to sort of push it forward and develop so many new elements for the +4, they felt the price kind of had to reflect that. So this thing starts from just under £63,000. I can imagine a few of you are wincing at that, because I winced at it when I saw it as well. It's just feels like a lot, doesn't it? Now, I want to stay on Morgan's side for a second, because I do kind of love them. If you've ever been to the Morgan factory, you'll know why Morgans probably should always have a bit of a premium over their rivals. Firstly, they're working in the same way they've been working for about 100 years. I mean, the actual sort of clamp, the clasp for making these beautiful wheel arches is, well, it's from the dawn of time. No one knows how old it is. It's been used forever. And these body panels are still hand beaten. The whole car has a very luxury premium feel to it. And so therefore, if you turn up anywhere in this thing, people are going to go, oh, what's that? That seems so cool. If you arrived anywhere in one of its rivals, take the Z4 with the same engine, people are going to go, oh, my hairdresser's here. Lockdown must be over. It's not the same. So I get that there should always be a slight premium price over its rivals, but 63 odd grand, because fundamentally, whilst functionality's improved, cabin space, usability, driving experience has improved, still a toy, isn't it? It's a car for days like today, beautiful sunshine when you can just lark around, maybe head to the pub once they reopen. It's not a car you're going to do a 300-mile journey in. I don't think. Maybe you are, maybe you're crazy, who knows. But anyway, this is a press drive, as I mentioned. This is not a customer car, this is a factory car, and whilst it's been a very COVID-friendly, COVID-safe experience, essentially I turned up at Morgan, the car was left for me with the keys in it, and the press team from Morgan were kind of shouting information at me across a car park. They did say, look, once you're done driving, why don't we meet up for a sort of socially distanced takeaway coffee? We'll bring the automatic version, you can check that out, ask any questions you have, and just chat about all things Morgan. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to leave this petrol station that looks like it hasn't been used for about 70 years in a car which has been around for about 70 years, go meet up with the team from Morgan. Sausage sandwich demolished then, and here are the cars that the guys from Morgan brought along for me to check out, obviously alongside the Plus 4 I've been spending most of the day with. Let's start off on the right, because this of course is another new Plus 4, but this very interestingly is the automatic. So look, if I come in here, you'll have a quite recognisable BMW shifter, but also some quite nice paddles behind the wheel. Intrigued by this, maybe on another occasion I need to have a go in the auto. What would you buy if you were looking to buy an all-new Plus 4, manual or auto? I think most of you will say manual, and I would agree. But look, as a comparison, I've been sort of harking on about the Plus 6 in the last few minutes. Here is the all-new Plus 6. As you can see immediately, a much wider car than the Plus 4. This has the inline 6 engine inside, about 325 horsepower in comparison to, yes, that 4-cylinder at 255 or so. So a bit of a beefier, meatier car. This one's got the hardtop on it at the moment. Got a load of sort of vents on the bonnet to kind of aid with cooling. It's just, yeah, anyway, it's not about that today, it's about this. So I do think, just in general, it looks so cool, this car. The small elements they did to improve the way that it looks, I absolutely think it's awesome. But yeah, I kind of miss my green one right now. Whenever I spend time around these cars, I can't help but want to buy one immediately. I just fall in love with that pure driving experience. But anyway, I need to summarise now because I've been banging on a bit too much. The new Plus 4, it is just such a huge step forward. It's a different prospect, a different entity. And I know I said that it's kind of a car for drives on sunny days like this, and it is. But I actually think the new version is so much better that you could live with it on more occasions. Maybe I need to try that out. Maybe I need to convince Morgan to lend me one for a longer journey. Or maybe a Plus 6 for a longer journey. Could I drive one to Monaco once borders open? Who knows? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you found it informative. If you've ever sort of considered a Morgan, go and test drive a new one. Because if you liked the old one, this one is going to blow your mind. And if you've never driven one, you have to have a go, because it's unlike anything else on today's market. Give it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed the video, and make sure you stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.